Okay, I want to start with reading a piece that's on. Somebody wrote it on Facebook, and it's on a thread that goes over about miracles. And somebody writes, when my oldest daughter, 6, walked into a sliding door and right through it, it was between my dining room and deck. I was standing in front of the glass door and still cannot tell you how she managed to go through it. There was a 6-inch step down into the deck, and it was not safety glass. The hole which she came through was about 18 inches in diameter and a good foot above the deck floor. Not one piece of glass was embedded into her, and she came out with a scrap on her hip. She didn't know what happened until I turned her around and showed her the glass. This is a wonderful piece that illustrates exactly what the topic of today will be about. And let me just ask you, Dimitri, what are your thoughts about this piece? What goes through your mind?
This is a true experience posted on a thread on my Facebook page regarding a piece I wrote in which I was saying that um, the current basically what we have been told that the physical reality is really not what it is. And that's the problem is that when this girl was probably walking through this glass door, she was not aware of what it was. She hadn't yet, if you wish, observed it. You know, this goes right back to the Schrodinger cat, in which what is the cat, dead or alive, and we don't know until we observe it. And what that is really going at is that when we define, when we observe, when we label or diagnose something, we're actually that label, the diagnosis, that definition is like a package of expectations, like um, like if they say you have cancer, that comes with a whole package of you're probably going to die, it's going to kill you. It's a program, and it's like a program. If you run the program to its logical end, what you will get is that, for instance, the program of depression nowadays on the television is that um, when you're depressed, you get despondent, you get this, that, and the other, and then you want to kill yourself. So if you listen good to these commercials, it's actually a script. They're telling you what to do. They're telling you that if you have this, then you're going to feel that, and this is going to happen, and it's basically programming. And I guess, like this example, probably the first thing we teach a child is what to expect regarding the physical world. And the idea is that, right, the idea, look, at some point we get caught in this illusion. And this is the problem with programs, with beliefs, with definitions, is that the human being seems to be this creation, this creator energy thing. So we then go on and create these expectations. But right, this is a beautiful example, and the other examples on that is the video. The first video is about this woman there's this car that is caught in water, and then it goes under the water, and basically somebody pulls her out of the wind through the windshield, because when they take the car out, the windshield is intact and there's no window open, and there's no other way that she could have been pulled out of there. So you see, this is very, very, this is, I think, our first, this is the way we would awaken, because when we get out of that state of what I would call a first person state, and I will explain more of that later, but we go into this field of what I would call infinite possibilities, which is basically we go into a spirit state, or a state of high frequency, and then, if you wish, in that state we become much more aware, acutely aware, or experience more acutely that the world around us is also actually spirit. But then when we're out of that state, then we're in this illusion of what I would call then the particle, or which is like the box, confined by limiting beliefs, which are what we now call theories are just limiting beliefs, people trying to define things, and you will never define spirit, meaning the infinite.
Are kids more living in a third perspective? I guess that's maybe true. We're actually bringing them down into the first person perspective, but when they're very small, they're really not in the first person.
No, you see it exactly. You see it when a little boy starts to see things, and my little son would see a bus, and then he would keep repeating the word bus until I say bus. So until I don't validate it for him, it doesn't exist. And then he stops repeating it. And so it doesn't exist for the little child. The world is still probably just one big energy field, and then, so yeah, at that age of 2, they're starting to observe. We are teaching them that to observe. You see, this is not they don't just observe. We are teaching them to observe. And what is happening now in the world is that we are like going back to this spiritual world, and now it's like we are teaching ourselves how to, basically going back to the spiritual frequency, the higher frequencies, is unlearning to observe. So we're like going back into this. That's why the saying of remembering when you were a child, there are many levels to that. But yes, so yeah, it's
So, the first person perspective. What do you mean with that?
yeah. So there's a whole package about to it. When you define something, you're basically making it something separate from yourself. It's like, there's a bus out there, meaning it's separate from me. So the whole act of when we define something, we are basically falling into the first person perspective, which is then there's something outside there, loose from me. That's the way we teach how to observe. The whole idea of observation is that there's this illusory sense of separateness between the observer and the observed. So this is the first person perspective, that I am loose from that observation out there. So you teach children how to name things, the tree and the car and the sea. We don't teach the children, I am the sea, I am the tree, I am the food. We teach them the tree is out there, separate from us. So that's the first person perspective. Me versus something out there, separate from me. That's the basic programming that's happening at schools. and and at homes in childhood. So so the first person, we need to reverse engineer this. The third person would be like somebody on top of us looking at us in relation to what is in front of us. But the third person would then not look at me and the other thing as separate. See this? So the third person would be like, one would say, in between the observer and the observed. In that space in between. You see, so between the two means that it's neither, that the two are connected. You see? That's why the third person is basically the butterfly that has exited the sea, the video game. When we're in first person, we're stuck in the video game. We are basically teaching kids how to get stuck in the video game. And we were playing the game in first person, and all of my work in psychotherapy is basically all different ways to get into the third person perspective. And so what you get is that you basically, when I say, somebody asks me, okay, how do I get there? And so you need to look at your own, you need to think about your own thoughts. For instance, if you're aware that what you're seeing in the other is a projection, then you're looking at your own thoughts. So obviously, there's something looking at you, looking at your thoughts. So that's the third person. Something is looking at the looker. There's a lot to this if you really want to dig it all out, because so in that third person perspective, what we are basically in is between the thoughts, while the first person is the whole process of teaching people to define things, to theorize, to observe, while to get into the third person, you're basically teaching them to look at their own thoughts. So for instance, we were lately doing an exercise on quality, and then here's the exercise was how everybody would present their definition of what they feel is quality, which would be the same as saying what's your implicit theory of excellence or beauty or whatever. And then the idea is that no, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the idea would not be to try to define quality or whatever. The idea would be to be mindful that what you are saying about quality says more about yourself than about anything else. Because there's no thing else out there. You see, the whole thing is that we fall in the thing state. But it's not a thing, it's energy fields. It's just energy, a sea of energy. That's why there being no difference between the glass and the little girl, she walks through the glass. There's no thing there to stop her. That's the wave. And so the whole point is that in the third person, so then the exercise becomes no more the scientific idea of creating theories or definitions and competing, letting them compete among each other to see which is the best theory of the world, of something. No, what you're saying about that anything out there says about you, so then you become aware of that as yourself. And that's the exercise. So then I become aware that what I'm saying about quality is me. Which is like a projection. And when I become aware of that, then I'm in a third person. So, and then we do this work to get out of the matrix or the Maya, the illusion, desert of illusions, or the video game, which is the first person. And then we do this to get into the land of infinite possibilities.